And we're back once again. It is Gerald Glassford from Pop Culture Cosmos Game Source and Inside Sports. We're here to talk. We're here to talk some hoops because it is that magical time again. Time for the NBA season. It is here. It is upon us. I'm so happy. I'm giddy. I've got all my Lakers uniform stuff out here. I'm probably sickening him to death as the guy who's going to be here as well because my NBA guru, the man in the know when it comes to the NBA, who's who's a diehard Clippers fan, and probably just laughing at me as we speak right before he comes on the air. It is my good friend Anthony Barbarin. Anthony, welcome again to the 2018-2019 NBA preview show.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Like I said, I'm psyched, my friend. Look at this. Got the Lakers hat, Lakers shirt, Lakers shorts going on, man. I'm telling you, it could be because that I finally, after many, many years of seeing the Clippers dominate the Lakers over this decade, that they finally have a chance to pay back in at least a little bit with LeBron coming to Los Angeles. I know that's the big thing around the NBA, and everybody's just all excited about that. But we're going to get into that here in a little bit when we talk about the NBA teams as a whole. We're also going to discuss our picks for the most valuable player. I know Anthony has some very pointed thoughts also as well. I'm going to chime in with my thoughts on it as well. But I'm telling you what, it all starts with the NBA, and we're going to go ahead and do things a little bit differently than a West Coast, East Coast, Eastern Conference, Western Conference. We're going to start off with describing our thoughts on the NBA teams here in general by going off of the win totals, the win-loss totals for the win totals for that have been posted that are currently posted by the Westgate Hotel here in Las Vegas. So we're going to start off with the team that is favored to win the most during the regular season, and that is the Golden State Warriors, the champs. They said the other day that they're going to try and win one more for Oakland before they go ahead and move their nice, beautiful, awesome arena in downtown San Francisco. But their current status is 61.5 wins. First off, my friend, what are your thoughts on the Golden State Warriors and over under on 61.5 wins?
I'm gonna take the over. Not by a whole lot. I think they will get to somewhere maybe around 65 wins. I think they moved into the realm of saving yourself for the playoffs. It's kind of where you see where LeBron used to be in Cleveland, where it's like, oh, they're only winning 48 games, they're only winning 50 games, where they should be dominating. When you understand we're gonna be in the playoffs, we're gonna get one of the top 2 seeds. We don't have to stress ourselves out in the regular season. But they're so talented across the board. Their style of play the way they run up the score on you in the second half and the barrages that they get, they'll win 60 plus games. I think they'll get to 65.
Are you concerned that their bench, at least at first glance, does not look as deep as it has been in recent years? Actually, it's been kind of whittling down for the past couple years as far as the players that they can rely on consistently time after time after the death lineup and after the All-Stars and Andre Iguodala. Maybe you can throw in Sean Livingston. And then after that, it just seems kind of hard right now to look for consistent players. Maybe Quinn Cook, maybe Jonas Jerebko. But like I said, right now, it's getting a little bit harder for Golden State to continue supplying that bench with quality players due to the fact that they've got consistent cap holds with all the great players they have in their starting lineup.
And to me, unless they have a couple of significant injuries, I don't really think it's going to matter. I think they have at least enough to go 8 deep. And once that happens, they just have too much. Even if their bench disappoints a little bit, they have so much starter depth and starter talent that you can sprinkle 2-3 starters in with bench players just to continue to have, that quality on the floor at all times. So I don't really see, with that addition of Boogie Cousins and their lineup up and down 1 through 5 to start, it's just too much talent, even if they don't have a great bench.
DeMarcus Cousins now entering the fray, although he is not going to be able to be eligible for games until he comes back from a serious Achilles injury. What do you think he's going to be able to provide when he comes back, which is probably around projected to be January, February, or March, most likely February or March because of that serious injury? What do you think he's going to bring as far as a dynamic to the team? And do you think it'll be able to create a situation where it's just going to be a no-brainer once the playoffs come around?
Well, what I think will happen is he probably won't come back till after the All-Star game or around All-Star time. And then I think it'll take him some time to get acclimated to the team, but I don't think they'll change their style of play for him. I think he'll have to fit in. I also think this is one of those years where he'll be on his best behavior in order to get that big contract going forward and for another team. But the first round, second round is where you're going to see them, in my opinion, start to work him in and be conscious of working him in. Because what they want to do with him is he presents an element that they haven't had in the past, where if shots aren't falling or if teams figure out a way to slow them down on the perimeter, now you have somebody you can throw it to on the block, and there's no team that's going to be able to stop them on the perimeter and stop them with him if they go that route. So I think it's not going to be a straight out of the gate just their camaraderie as a team playing together is just off the charts. I think it'll take some time to work him in. But when they do, even if it's not, it's not a seamless transition, what he provides in the playoffs as a half-court presence, I think puts them over any other team in the league.
I agree with you. At this point, you have to make them the heavy favorites. I think they're, with even DeMarcus Cousins or without him, they're still the number one choice to go all the way this year. I see the fact that it looks like with DeMarcus Cousins, the dynamic that he brings as far as not only he can score, rebound, block shots, but if healthy, he can also provide a unique skill set with his passing and be able to facilitate that ball and make things even easier for distribution if he's placed in the starting 5 with the other awesome 4 that they already have already. It looks like it's their title to lose once again. I know it's a broken record, but at least get used to it for at least one more year probably, because as long as they stay healthy, you have to continue to make the Golden State Warriors the favorite. And I see them getting above 61.5 wins as well. So I'm going to go over. I'm going to go over as well. Next on the list, we have the Boston Celtics. Their current win total at the Westgate in Las Vegas is 59.5. Your thoughts on the Boston Celtics? A very deep team. Do they have enough depth to fend off everyone in the Eastern Conference? Because you're also talking about Kyrie Irving and Gordon Hayward coming back from some serious injuries.
I mean, I think, one more time, what was the win total?
59.5.
I actually can see that. I would go over. I would go at 60 wins. And to me, it's not Kyrie, it's not Gordon Hayward, it's Brad Stevens. I think he's one of the 5 best coaches in the entire league, and that's being generous to the other 4. What he can do with the talent he's had, I mean, even when Kyrie went out, even when Hayward was out last year, he took him to the Eastern Conference Finals. With those other 2, I think they'll be able to pretty much continue what they were doing last year. Tatum's going to be better. Jaylen Brown's going to be better. Rozier will be better. Marcus Smart is there. I just think they have a lot of talent, but what he provides us from a coaching standpoint, sort of in a Greg Popovich type way. It's like you just uh, really see his stamp on what they do, and he's the main reason. And they have much talent. They have a lot of talent, but I think he's the head of the snake. And as long as he's there, they're gonna be a very viable team in the Eastern Conference. And I think with LeBron gone, they are the team to beat in the Eastern Conference.
I believe so as well. I think they're going to narrowly squeak out an Eastern Conference championship over the Toronto Raptors, but we'll get into them in a little bit here. Boston is a very deep at almost every position. The only thing that they need, obviously, is some front court help. I think they need someone at the center position to really anchor that defense of theirs. Al Horford, I think he's more of a power forward. He gets into trouble when he tries to become a center. Although in the day of small ball, he might actually be more prolific and more so than I think he will be. I still think at some point in time they need a big man to take care of some certain situations, and I don't think Aaron Baines is going to be it. But I will say this: they're a very deep team, and the only thing that they really have to fight against, I think, from that will stop them from winning the Eastern Conference is themselves, because they've got Terry Rozier, they've got Jason Tatum. They have also as well other players on that team that are just really good, that want to fight and want to fight for time and want to be able to play and have a chance to be a part of what they were like last year when Kyrie and Gordon Hayward were both out, and you had the rest of the team pick up the slack and almost sneak into the NBA Finals because of it. They took Cleveland to a 7th game. It was really hard fought. I think right now when you have players like Jason Tatum, who I think is the best player on that team, all apologies to Kyrie Irving. I also think that you have also Jaylen Brown, who's very underrated and who might get lost in the shuffle, I think, as compared to last year if everybody stays healthy. You also have Terry Rozier, who really wants to go ahead and become a starting point guard in the league, and I think is ready to do so. So you have a lot of players there that want the time, that want the ball, and want the opportunity to go ahead and take whatever team, whether it's Boston or another team, to a higher level. I think at some point in time, the organization is going to have to make hard decisions on committing to Gordon Hayward still, or Kyrie Irving still, instead, or either or, because the fact is you're also going to have to worry about Jason Tatum's contract coming up at some point in time. Also, as well, you've got Jaylen Brown, and also you have Terry Rozier. Those individuals want more time, want a bigger piece of the pie, and eventually you're going to have to make a decision who you want to commit to. And right now, everything's going to be okay for this year, but going forward, it might get a little tricky and dicey. But those seeds will be planted this year with the team, I have a feeling. But as long as they can be somewhat cohesive, I think they will be the Eastern Conference champions. Next up on the list, my friend. So actually, one more thing. Boston Celtics, I think, are going to win about 57, 58 games, so a slightly under on that, slightly under. The Houston Rockets, Westgate currently it has them at 57 wins. Your thoughts on the new home for Carmelo Anthony, the Houston Rockets? Are they still as good as they were last year when they were just, 50 3-point misses away from going ahead and being into the finals? I'll tell you what, that 7th game was just, there's just no excuse, my friend. I think you and I can make at least one out of those 20 something straight 3-point misses. Yeah, just was very disappointing that they lost on that note. That might be a little bit in their heads going forward, but I still think it's going to be a strong season for the Houston Rockets.
I mean, I got them at about 50, anywhere from 55 to 58 wins.
I'll tell you what, I'm going to go slightly under.
I mean, they won 65 last year. Yeah. So I kind of want to go slightly over. I think I'll go at 58. Just to give him the benefit of the doubt. The Carmelo thing, I've always thought he needed a player like a Chris Paul on his team to maximize his gifts. But I think at this point in his career where he's not in his prime, he's not the focal point offensively. I don't know how well he meshes with other players. I don't see him all of a sudden embracing the role this year that he wouldn't embrace just a year ago, where he's not the number one option. He's not the second option. It might not even be the third option on nights when Gordon has it going. He's not a prolific three-point shooter, so he's not a great defensive player. I think he can be a better rebounder when he wants to be, but I don't see how he makes their team better. I understand he's a better player than Trevor Ariza, but there's a difference between being an overall better player and a better fit for a team. And I don't think that Carmelo is a better fit for that team. Now, if he's all of a sudden making, 37, 38, 39% of his threes, then that's a different story. But I don't see that happening. And so because of that, I think you got slower. I think you got less athletic on the perimeter. And so I think that's going to cost them a significant amount of wins. So I'll go slightly over 57 at 58, but I don't think they'll get close to the 65 games they won last year.
I think they're going 55. I think there is going to be a drop-off during the regular season because I also think Harden and also Chris Paul are going to get some time off this year. Maybe it's not, I'm not going to say it's going to be because of injuries. I'm just thinking they're going to be allowed some time off this year because they're going to get some rest. And they're going to see that there's going to be too hard during the regular season to stay with the Golden State Warriors. And they're going to try to prepare themselves for the playoff run. You can also count on something at the trade deadline, pretty much with Daryl Morey trying to get something to shore up the defensive side because Luke Mbahumute and also Trevor Ariza being gone from there is going to hurt them defensively. And I tell you what, that's going to sting more and more as the season goes on. So I think at this point in time, I'm saying 55 wins, but they still will probably add enough pieces to make themselves a very viable candidate to maybe surprise the Golden State Warriors come playoff time. All right, what we have next is for the Toronto Raptors. I know I just said we were going to talk about them, and they're coming up right here next. Their projected win total currently at the Westgate Hotel is 55.5 wins. So I ask you, my friend, Kawhi's in town, that incredible laugh and all. Tell me your thoughts. Did you hear that laugh, by the way?
I heard the laugh.
Okay.
He's notorious for his quirky laugh.
Yeah. It was quirky is the nicest thing I've said about it in a long time. So I will say this, that the Toronto Raptors, people should not sleep on them. They're a quality team with a lot of great depth. And if Kawhi actually buys into what they're talking about and what they're dealing with at Toronto, I see actually a win total above 55.5. I see them going 56, 57 games. I really think they're a quality team, and they're going to be very much in the hunt in the Eastern Conference.
I have them slightly under 50. I think they'll win 55. So that's why I'm taking under. I can see them winning 53. My thing, I think their bench will be, that much better with experience. And I think the consensus is that, Kawhi is a better player than DeMar DeRozan. However, I think their skill sets are different. I think that DeMar DeRozan is a better one-on-one offensive player. I think Kawhi can score. I think he's a good three-point shooter. He's an amazing defender, but he's not a guy with the ball in his hands and you go get us buckets. I think he benefits from Pop's motion system, getting people open, getting good quality shots. And I'm not sure he's going to get that as easily in Toronto, where they're more concerned or more used to, one guy going and the next guy going. And I know last year they tried to switch it up and they tried to, get more passing and get more open shots. But you even saw it in the playoffs where they needed DeRozan to go one-on-one. They needed him to get shots. They needed him to get buckets. So that, to me, I don't know if you got Kyle Lowry's a year older.
Yeah, he is 33, so that's obviously an area of concern. That can he perform at a high level for a point guard who's taken a lot of abuse over the years with some injury issues, from previous years? Will he be able to maintain that level of excellence and also be able to perform in the playoffs? A time where he's been lacking. The only time he's been lacking in his game is during the playoff season.
Yeah, I agree. And so that again, that falls to if that trend continues, then the pressure and the burden of offense falls onto Kawhi. So is Kawhi now going to go, give me the ball, I'm going to get you 40, I'm going to get you 45? Or is he, more suited to play in a system where he can get open shots and he can still play one-on-one? I'm not begrudging him that. I'm just saying it's not his game. That's not what he excels at, where, in my opinion, that's what DeMar DeRozan excels at. So to me, if that happens, if that burden falls on him more, even if Kyle Lowry goes down for a certain amount of time, how is that going to affect the team? So they won, I believe, 59 games last year. I think they'll be more around the 55, 53 mark.
I think they'll be slightly above, like I said, around 57, 58. They'll be just behind Boston, I think, in the Eastern Conference. So look for them to be very competitive, and come playoff time, they could be a force to reckon with, and they could match up very well with Boston in the Eastern Conference, especially if Kawhi is playing at a high level. Because if he is playing at his MVP-like level, he is going to be the best player on the floor against a Boston matchup. So look out for that. And all it will take is just some really good support from a suspect Toronto, which has never really been able to provide that in the playoffs. But this is different with Kawhi. They could actually rally themselves under Kawhi and be able to go ahead and pose a fierce challenge to Boston. But we'll have to wait and see. But I really think at this point in time that they're a slight over as far as their win total is concerned. Next up, we have a very intriguing team, the Philadelphia 76ers, who are currently at 54 wins projected at Westgate. Your thoughts on the 76ers? My friend, I love Joel Embiid. I think he's an outstanding player. I hope his health just continues to get better, and I do hope we get to see him as fans and be privileged to see him because over the course of time, because I just think there's going to be all-star after all-star after all-star for him. Ben Simmons is awesome. Would love to see a jump shot at some point in time develop from him. But the situation where they lost two great shooters in Ilyasova and also Bellinelli, and you replace it now full-time with a Markelle Fultz who, I don't know, I guess the best way you can say it is suspect. I mean, I would, you know what I'd love to see? I'd love to see a shooting contest between him and Lonzo Ball at this point in time and find out who would win. My money would be on Lonzo Ball at this point in time because Markelle Fultz has really struggled. He had his struggles in China so far, but they're going to continue to put him in there. They're actually putting him in to start the season in the starting lineup ahead of sharpshooter JJ Redick, which I think is not the right plan to do. Your thoughts on the Philadelphia 76ers? I think they got less depth. I think they did not get enough back for Wilton Chandler and Mike Muscala. I don't think that's enough to really get them over the hump on 54 wins. I see them closer to 48 to 50, and I think they are below this year for me as far as their win total is concerned.
I'm actually kind of high on on Philadelphia this year. I just think with another year, I mean, your two main players were so young. For them to get that experience and how they failed against Boston in crucial moments, they were in all those games, most of those games, and it came down to the wire, and they lost at the end of the game. And I think those kind of experiences, I think that those are where you learn how to win. You learn what you did wrong, and you learn how to win. I think with the return of Hayward and Irving, they're not going to be there with Boston. I think that'll put them ahead of Philadelphia for sure. But I think Philadelphia, if they won 57 games, I wouldn't be surprised if the regular season, they're right there. At playoff time, I don't think they have enough. But the regular season, 55, 56 wins, I wouldn't be surprised. So I would go over. You said they were at 55. I would go over 55.
54.
I would go over 54.
All right, a brave man you are, especially with Joel Embiid's injury history. I just hope he stays healthy, and I also hope. You're like I see you already like. Yeah.
They're all, they're healthy for most of the year. I think I don't see a jump shot coming from Ben Simmons in the next 3 years. I think that'll be something he gets over the course of his career. But I think he'll be better than he was last year. I saw glaring weaknesses in his game last year that, other teams didn't exploit. I think there was something about him going to his right hand. He mostly stayed left. And so I think he'll be better for, little things like that, where he won't always go left. He'll go right sometimes. And I think he'll gain a better post-up game. I think the other things will come more than just needing a jump shot. He does need one, but I think there's other aspects of his game that he'll improve on before he gets to that point where the only thing left is a jump shot.
I think he'll need to post up more if he cannot find that jump shot. I think he'll need to be able to distribute the ball from either a mid post or a post up format, as opposed to trying to go ahead and be that distributor from the top of the key. Because as long as you're at the top of the key, you're going to have to back off of him and just dare him to try and shoot. Because as soon as he puts the ball on the floor, watch out. He's got such a big, long frame that I tell you what, he's very tough to stop once he gets going. But if you can try and challenge him to jump shots, that's going to really just change the dynamic, because he's not there yet with his jump shot. And I think that's, like you said, that's going to keep him from greatness. I think at this point in time, he's a very, very, very good player. He's on the verge of greatness, but I think the only thing that will hold him back, even Jason Kidd's a great example, because he didn't have a jump shot and he did not become a great player until he had some semblance of a 3-point shot to be able to add to his arsenal that would get opponents scared enough to go ahead and give him more opportunities to go ahead and decide what he wants to do with the ball. So Ben Simmons, I wish all the best for you. And Philadelphia, I think at this point in time, I see them around 48 to 50 wins, so slightly under for me, but I still think they're going to be a very good team. And if they make some moves I know it's like a broken record, but if they make some moves at the trade deadline, they can actually be very strong come playoff time and maybe fend off a Toronto or a Boston. Coming up next. Oh, go ahead.
Hold on. Yeah, I just want that. I'm a little more positive on Markelle Fultz. I think, he missed most of the season, regardless of if he can shoot the ball. I think he can get to the basket. I think he can handle the ball. I think he presents another element off the bench where he pretty much didn't even play last year. So I think that's an additional player that's going to help their bench. If they make him a starter, they'll make him a starter. If it doesn't work, they'll move him to the bench. But he's another player on that team. If I'm the coach and he's not able to make a shot right now, I wouldn't put him in the starting lineup with Ben Simmons. I don't think that makes a lot of sense. But off the bench, I think he provides an element that they didn't have last year. So I think he helps them.
Next, we have everybody's sexy pick, and that is the Utah Jazz. Right now, they're at a flat 50 wins from the Westgate. Your thoughts on Utah? I've seen them as high as second in the Western Conference from various individuals out there. I think they're going to be very good. Their defense will be stifling. Donovan Mitchell still needs to continue to grow and become that all-star player that I think he can be. So with all those parameters together, it looks like it's going to be a great season for Utah, and I picked them for the over. I think they're going to end up being 52 to 55 wins.
Yeah, I think they are one of those teams where it can go. Honestly, it can go either way. I think they're a really good team and they're really, really good defensively, and that's where they hang their hat. Is on the defensive end. As long as Gobert's healthy, if Donovan Mitchell doesn't, slide back a little bit, what they have. The thing is, it's one of those things where it's defensively. Other than defensively, I don't see where they do it. As far as not to say that they don't do it or they won't do it. It's me watching. I don't see how they do it, yet they continue to do it. And
it's just offensively. After Donovan Mitchell, who are you going to have that's going to consistently score the basket?
Who do you have? Jay Crowder wasn't great for them last year. Is Grayson Allen going to play a big role? Is he good enough offensively to sneak into that second unit? Ricky Rubio's not much of a scorer, but he played really well with them last year. But in my opinion, some team is going to slide out in that Western Conference. As much as I hate to admit it, the Lakers will make that jump, so somebody has to slide out. And to me, the two teams that I see that have the most potential to fall out, as good as Utah is Utah and Minnesota. So those, as much as I see, would not be shocked if they win 52, 53, 55 games. I wouldn't be surprised if they, and it wouldn't take much before they won 48 last year. If you slide to 46, you could conceivably win 48 again in this conference and not make the playoffs. I think this conference is moving back to be, with the addition of LeBron, to be that deep, to where 50 wins might not be enough. So I would go 50 wins for Utah this year.
So you would go over or under?
50. The total was 49.
50.
50. I would stay pat, I guess. If it's 50 and a half, I'd go under.
So you're a push. Okay. So you're okay. No money made off of Utah for you this year. All right. Next on the list, we've got Milwaukee Bucks at a 48.5 win total from the Westgate. In the next few picks, I just want to let you know we have got a lot right around bunched up against each other, so there's going to be very close win totals. Once again, I have Anthony Barbarin, our NBA expert and man in the know when it comes to the round ball. He's here talking with me on our 2018-2019 Pop Culture Cosmos NBA preview. The Milwaukee Bucks at 48.5. Giannis Antetokounmpo, he's just growing. I tell you what, he is really on the verge of doing some great things. Does he have enough support? It's always about that. He's been able to get by with a average at best jump shot, but it goes back to what we've talked about with Ben Simmons and others. He's still able to score 30 points a game, close to it, with a so-so jump shot. To take that next step and become that MVP elite caliber player that I think a lot of people are expecting him to jump to, I think he's going to have to shoot at least 35% from the three-point range. Can he make that leap, and can he push the Milwaukee Bucks to that 48.5 win total? Everything is going to have to, for me, run right for that team in order to reach 50 wins. I think they can do it, but he is going to have to play at such a high level that he's going to have to get some serious consideration for MVP.
Yeah, I think I'd go over. I really like this team. I mean, last year where they struggled was on the road. They were under 500 on the road, but they won, I mean, 25 games, I believe, on at home. I think this year you don't get the midseason trade with Eric Bledsoe. You get the full time Malcolm Brogdon, Chris Middleton. Um, you add Brook Lopez. I think with that gives you some other scoring. I think this year, I have them at 50 wins. I think Giannis is only, and I was a Giannis skeptic early in his career. I saw the athleticism, I saw the length, the athleticism, but I wasn't sold on the skill.
You weren't sure, like a lot of people, that if he's going to put it all together.
Right. And the one thing that bothered me more than anything was his ability to shoot. And I don't ever think he'll be a great shooter. But I think he'll be a capable shooter, and he's a capable scorer. You know, like you said, he can score 30 a game. Where he has to turn it around, in my opinion, even if his scoring drops defensively, I think he has the ability, or he should, with his length, his athleticism, be an elite defensive player. If he can,
I agree.
His game to being good or really good on the defensive end, night in and night out, I think they'll win 50 games. And I think that pushes him and his team into another level as far as being in a contention in the Eastern Conference.
I definitely agree with you on that. He has to be at an elite level defensively. There's no excuse with his athleticism, his length. He's 6'11", and he can guard 1 to 5. And he is that rare player that can do it all if he chooses to and if he wants to. And it's just about shoring up those little things in his game that will help him propel him, that will help propel him to the top. And as far as the MVP voting is concerned, I think at this point in time, it is going to be around 50 wins, maybe 49, but that's still an over for me. And I think they're going to do very well this year in Milwaukee. Whether or not that's going to lead to a serious playoff run, we'll have to wait and see. I'm sure you and I will go over back and forth on that. But at this point in time, I do see a strong season for the Milwaukee Bucks, and I do see them going over as well. The next thing we've got on the list is the Oklahoma City Thunder at 48.5 wins. My friend, everybody is picking them to do much better now that they have Carmelo Anthony off the team. But I want to get to your thoughts and opinions on them because there's been some injury woes that they've suffered as of late. Russell Westbrook has already got knee issues, and it's not even the start of the season yet. He is going to come back, but it's still going to be an issue going forward throughout the rest of the season. You also have Anthony Roberson. He has gone down. His knee injury is still out. He's going to be out at least, I think another couple months or so. You've got some issues there. Your thoughts on the Oklahoma City Thunder? I've got them right now at around, I'm going to say around 47 wins, 46. So I've got them slightly under. Your thoughts, just because of the fact that their health issues aside, I think will prevent them from winning 48.5 games. Your thoughts on the Oklahoma City Thunder? 48.5 wins. Do you think they're going to be an over? Because a lot of people are picking them as a way over because of the talent that they still have on the team and the fact that Carmelo Anthony is no longer clogging up that locker room and making it such a volatile place.
I have them over. I do. I have them over. To me, they'll go. There's Russell Westbrook presents this level of competitiveness that, to me, propels the rest of his team. Some people don't like it because a lot of times it's him going, and sometimes it's so much that he does at times leave his teammates behind. But I think with the addition of Dennis Schroeder, I think if he's out for a little bit in the beginning, I think they'll be able to withstand that. I think they'll still be able to win games. I think Paul George is I think he's a number 2, but I think he's a capable number 2. I think he's a fringe one, number 2. And I think he's proven even in Indiana that he can lead a team. So with Dennis Schroeder, who I think is a legitimate, point guard, I don't think he's a high level starting point guard, but if he was to be your starting point guard on a team that's well built, I don't think you'd have a problem with that. So I think for this team, the addition of Dennis Schroeder really helps curtail that Russell Westbrook injury. I don't think Russell Westbrook, in my opinion, he's like Adrian Peterson. Yeah, he's injured. I don't think it'll affect him as far as what he'll be athletically and physically when he is back. I think he'll still be explosive. I think he'll still be fast and hard nosed. I think his athleticism, he's one of those guys where I don't think that'll sap his athleticism. I think he'll still be Russell Westbrook when he comes back. So I have Oklahoma City going over.
That's some great thoughts again from Anthony Barbarin, our NBA man in the know. If you have any questions for us here at Inside Sports, Pop Culture Cosmos, and Game Source, feel free to email us, popculturecosmos@yahoo.com. Also as well, Pop Culture Cosmos, Humanity Media, and Game Source on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram as well. My friend, next up on the list after that 48.5 wins win total for the Oklahoma City Thunder is the Indiana Pacers at a flat 48. Your thoughts on the Indiana Pacers? I have them slightly over because I think they really added a lot of depth in their bench area, adding Tyreke Evans, McDermott, as far as getting those two in there to go ahead with a more seasoned, as you were talking about with other teams, group of players that are now played a year together, and it really looks solid. I think they're going to push towards a 49-win 50 type campaign. I think that they'll go above the 48-win total. Plus, hopefully now that he just got paid, Miles Turner will also perform at a level that I think he's capable of. Your thoughts on the Indiana Pacers? Their win total is 48. Looks like it's a really solid number as far as that's concerned, leading from their really strong playoff performance against Cleveland, which I think they should have won that round from them. Your thoughts on the Indiana Pacers? Do you think they're going to go above the win total of 48 games?
Yeah, I have them. I have them slightly above at 49. I think again they're bringing back the same people they had last year in the starting lineup. Tyreke Evans, Doug McDermott. I think Sabonis will be better for another year, and playing together. And I agree with the Miles Turner thing. I think shoring him up, getting him paid. I think he just signed $80 million, 4 years, $80 million. I don't think his ceiling is a whole lot higher, but I think it's higher than what he's been. I think he can easily be a 2010 guy. And I think I think the Pacers can go through him a little more offensively. And I think he can raise his level of play. I actually think he will. I don't know if he'll jump to where he should be, but I think he'll be at least marginally better than what he was last year. And I think that helps. I have him at 49 wins.
That's like I said, I think that's right where I have them too. So slightly above on that factor as well. Next up on the list, we've got, here it comes, my friend, the Los Angeles Lakers, which are projected to be 13 games better than they were last season at 48. Your thoughts on the Los Angeles Lakers? Obviously, LeBron being there is going to be a big factor that weighs into that, and all the other, I guess, pieces that they added, are they going to be the right fit? What I've said before when I was on another NBA preview show is this: that ultimately the Los Angeles Lakers are going to develop over the next couple of years. Their development is based off of the 4 young kids that they currently have now in Brandon Ingram, Kyle Kuzma, Josh Hart, and Lonzo Ball. Their development is key, and how fast and how well they develop is going to determine exactly how good the Los Angeles Lakers can be in the short or the long term. I think right now at 48 wins, according to the Westgate, puts them in the 5th position. And I think in the Western Conference. And I think that that's just about where they're going to be, 48 wins. So I'm going to have to put a push on that. And I say 48 wins right on the dot for the Los Angeles Lakers. I'm not expecting them to be much higher, and I'm not expecting to be much lower. I don't think they're going to be in the top 4 seeds. I think 5th is a good spot for the Los Angeles Lakers in the Western Conference.
You know, as a Clipper fan, Laker hater.
I know. I'm telling you, because it's really hard for you to do this, my friend. I know.
Very difficult. I think that's low. I have them over. I have them at 51, 52 wins. I think LeBron, it's what he does. He takes teams and he puts them at a level far above what they have been. I think they won 35 games last year. I think they could have won more. You had Lonzo Ball go out for a while. You had Ingram miss a lot of time. I think Ingram is going to be probably a 20-point a game scorer this year. LeBron will get him easier shots. Rondo will get him easier shots. Lonzo will get him. He'll get wide open shots. The game will come very easy to him this year. And LeBron is what he'll do with that team. And yeah, it'll probably take some time before they mesh as a team. But they'll hit a stride. They'll hit a stride where they'll win games. I think they'll win 50 plus. So I have them.
You have them at 50 plus?
I have them at 50 plus. I have them over to 48.
And I'm telling you, folks out there, if you actually could see Anthony right now, him gritting his teeth as he actually said that, being the Clippers fan that he is, it was really hard for him to say that. I give you the highest of compliments for actually gutting through that, my friend. I'll tell you what, I hope you're right and I'm wrong when it comes to the Lakers this season. I just think that there's too much to overcome to make it that magical right away. Everything will have to fall in place to get over 50 wins. But like you said, you never know. LeBron's on the team, so anything is bound to happen. Coming up next on the list, we've got, after the Los Angeles Lakers at 48 wins, is the Denver Nuggets at 47.5. This has been everybody's go-to pick for a surprise team in the Western Conference this year. They look really stacked with some young talent that just barely missed the playoffs because they lost in overtime in that final game to Minnesota. Your thoughts on the Denver Nuggets? Jokic looks really good. I think he's going to be a really strong player, can really do it all, inside, outside, passing, rebounding, the whole 9 yards. As long as he's got a healthy contingent to go with him, I see them at above 47.5 wins. I picked them on the over on that, and I think they're going to be a really good team this year.
Yeah, I think Millsap will be back for the whole season, presumably. Isaiah Thomas off the bench. They drafted Michael Porter. He probably won't play this year. But like you said, they won 46 games last year. I love Gary Harris. I love Jokic. I think this team will win 50 games. I think they'll be. I don't see them as a surprise for me because they were good last year.
The thing is with them, it's got to be like you were talking about with what's the other team that you said had real Milwaukee that had real problems on the road, I think you said.
Yeah.
Yeah. Their problem is outside of their own arena because they have that built-in advantage at home being so far up as far as the altitude is concerned. And a lot of teams that come in there, especially if they play in LA, if they play the Clippers, the Lakers, there's that dreaded, even with the Lakers and Clippers, there's that dreaded flight from LA to Denver and playing the next night on a back-to-back. That always kills the other team that's playing the Denver Nuggets. They have a built-in home court advantage that provides them a big-time winning percentage. The only thing that stops them is playing on the road. If they play more consistent on the road, I see 50 wins as well.
Yeah, I agree. I think, again, another year older. When you have young players, that experience is it can't be understated. That experience teaches you a lot about the game. And a lot of people, if you never played the game, don't understand how much mentally it goes into playing. It's not just athleticism, not just talent. There's a mental aspect of the game, which is why a lot of veterans who have lost their athleticism and their ability to really do spectacular things stick around for so long. It comes with experience, and I think with more experience, those young players grow. And I think that's one of the things that'll happen with Denver. Even if it's 3 more wins on the road, 4 more wins on the road, 5 more wins on the road, that kind of thing makes a huge difference. So I think they'll push 50 wins.
And mark this down now, everyone. If Michael Porter Jr. has the type of back recovery that we've seen from Joel Embiid, I think he's going to be a good player in about maybe 2-3 years. You think 3-4 years?
Yeah, I don't. If his back recovery, if he recovers fully from his back, I don't even think it'll take that long before he's a player that you want to see play. I think year 2, 3, he'll be somebody that is a really, really, really good player in the league.
I agree with you. I think he's going to be really strong. Just got to get rid of those back issues going forward because it can really bog you down. Just ask Steve Nash. Just ask Joel Embiid.
Yeah. Tracy McGrady is another one.
There you go.
You can't support your body, and it really. I honestly think it's is almost or right there with a severe knee injury, and even in today, I think it might be more daunting than a knee injury.
I agree with you because it stays with you. It stays with you for a long time. Next on the list is the Washington Wizards at a flat 46 wins projected from the Westgate in Las Vegas. Your thoughts on the Washington Wizards? I don't know. I'll tell you, my friend, everybody's talking a lot of good things coming up for the Washington Wizards because the savior's there and his name is Dwight Howard. Although I hear you laughing when I say that, so I was kind of being facetious. But if he could still give you 17-12 like he did last year at Charlotte and not blow up the entire locker room with chaos like he's been known to do, I'll tell you right now, I see okay things for Washington. Will they ever get to the point where they were supposed to be, I think, a year or 2 ago when we thought they were real favorites? I thought they were going to be really strong last year, and they kind of disappointed me. They kind of disappointed me. I'm not going to get bit by them again. I put them at just under around 45 wins, although I wouldn't be surprised if they go a lot higher and they just do it to show me up and just tell me, you know what, we didn't do it last year. We're going to do it this year because we now have Dwight Howard.
I have them at about 48 wins. I think, to me, even before they got Dwight Howard, I think the Austin Rivers trade was huge for them because it gives them a combo guard that can play both guard positions, where I felt like last year they didn't have that. They didn't have a guy who you can come off the bench when John Wall's out of the game, or I felt like when either one of them was out of the game, it was they really lacked in bringing somebody off the bench. I think he'll play a huge role on that team. I think he's good for them defensively. He can score. He can handle the ball. And again, he can play either one of those positions. I think he's one of my favorites in the 6th man of the year race. I think he'll be in there. I don't know if he'll win it. I doubt he'll win it, but I think he'll be in the conversation for most of the year. I think that's a big addition, one of the biggest additions. And I think Dwight Howard is a big addition for them because, I mean, as maligned as he's been throughout his career, he's done 2 things very consistently: protected the rim and rebounded. He's not gotten a lot of shots since he went to the Lakers. His shots have steadily declined. He's getting 7-8 shots a game. And to still be able to give you, 16, 17 points, to be top 4 or 5 in the league in rebounding, and still be able to protect the rim, I think he offers something that, because of where everybody expected him to be, gets overlooked. But again, the locker room thing can happen. I think if that's not an issue, then I think there's never been anything wrong with his game outside of the expectations for what they wanted him to be.
Well, like I said, just because I think they're going to spite me, they might do better. But at this point, I'm going to still go lower just by a couple games, because at some point in time, they're going to have to, and I mean the backcourt of Beal and Wall and Otto Porter Jr., they're actually going to have to get together and produce something very strong like they did 2-3 years ago in order to go ahead and be the team I think that they should be in the playoffs and also going forward during the season. If not, I think it's time to break them up. I think if they don't do well this year, it's time to break them up. Another team that, well, actually, it kind of surprised me that they're thought of this low is the New Orleans Pelicans at 45.5 wins, coming off that strong playoff performance and that sweep of the Portland Trailblazers. Your thoughts on New Orleans, my friend? Is it the Rondo factor that people are kind of down on New Orleans? I kind of picked them higher because I think Anthony Davis is going to play at an MVP-like level. He's going to hopefully stay healthy the entire year, and that will mean great things for New Orleans as they get close to 50 wins.
New Orleans is one of the harder teams for me to judge. Because without DeMarcus Cousins, I think they play faster. I think they move the ball better. But when you lose Rondo, it does more than just, take away a point guard. It also moves, Drew Holiday back to the point guard position where he seemed like he excelled playing the two last year, playing off ball. Less burden was on him. He could focus more defensively. He could score the basketball, and I think this puts him back at the point guard position where he's never been bad. Most of the thing with him has been his health. But I felt like last year he played at a level that he hadn't reached playing the point guard position. And I don't think Elfrid Payton is that guy. I love the Julius Randle pickup. I think that's really going to benefit them because I think he running up and down the court can really benefit from that style of play. But it's the wing positions that bother me. I mean, are you going to go with E'Twaun Moore and Solomon Hill as your guys? Mirotic is there. Can Mirotic fit, a bit better than he did last year? So they also I believe just traded Alexa Agensa to the Clippers for Wesley Johnson, which if he's going to start at the three, I think is better than what they've had. So to me, they're a flip of the coin. 45 wins seems to me about right, but if somehow they can withstand that Rajon Rondo move, then I think they can push 50 wins. But I would go with slightly over at maybe 47.
Like I said, you hit it right on the head, man, with a New Orleans Pelicans team that's going to be really tough to figure out because, like you said, they lost Rondo. And again, they have to have a full season of health and dominance from Anthony Davis in order to survive. If he gets hurt, all bets are off, and they could really be a really bad team going forward. But if he stays healthy, look out for New Orleans, especially if he gets if Anthony Davis gets some help.
Right.
Another team that's on the list here next is the Miami Heat. And no, I'm not taking my talents to South Beach, but the Westgate is actually, when they're talking about 43.5 wins, is this a little bit premature thinking that a certain Butler might actually go to South Beach and taking his talents there? Because I think that's a little high based on the team that they have. And 43.5 wins is not something I think they're going to be able to achieve unless they get Mr. Butler, Mr. Jimmy Butler from the Minnesota in a trade. If not, I think it's going to be just they've got a whole bunch of average at best players, and I think none of them really stand out as a top player. And in this league, you got to have someone that's going to dominate the ball at the end of games, that's going to want the ball and be able to take and make those shots at the end of games. I don't think Miami has that. And I think because of that, I see them as an under on 43.5 wins. But then again, all bets are off if Jimmy Butler ends up going and taking his talents to South Beach.
Miami is another one of those teams I don't understand. They boggle my mind. They seem to win games with, like you said, subpar talent, average talent. I mean, they won 44 games last year. And how they won 44 games, I don't understand.
Smoke and mirrors, my friend. Smoke and mirrors.
Yeah. But it's consistent. I mean, they've continued to do this outside of, a couple outliers. They've won, 40 games. They've snuck into the playoffs. They've been right on the cusp of the playoffs. And I don't think they have this overwhelming abundance of talent. If they get Jimmy Butler, I think that's another thing. This is Dwayne Wade's last run. So I think that'll have something to do with it. The thing about them is with some of these other teams coming up, who replaces them? I don't think Cleveland makes the playoffs. So for me, I think they probably push 43 wins to continue to stay where they were last year. I don't think they've gotten much better. Excuse me, but I don't think they've gotten much worse.
But you would say it's slightly under because they're 43.5, and you say 43 wins would be a slight under. But yeah.
I mean, I would push 43.5. If they went 44, 43, I think they'll be right there. So I would give it a push. I'll go slightly over just to, give a decision.
Winning that half game is hard unless you're in hockey or soccer.
Right.
Or actually in the NFL, because they early in the season, they decide to, really like ties and whatnot. But anyways, my friend, yeah, slightly over on that. I say it's under. I think those are still good reasons and valid reasons why on your part. But as an exceedingly average team on the roster, when you look at it, I just think at some point in time, other teams are going to take advantage of that and be able to go ahead and poke some holes in it, unless they get Jimmy Butler. And if they do, then I agree with you 100% on going over.
Yeah. Okay. One more. The only thing for me is I don't see what team passes them. I think Charlotte doesn't get any better. Is it Brooklyn? Is it New York? I mean, Detroit. I think Detroit probably takes Cleveland's spot in their playoff run. But other than that, I don't really see any teams to push them to where they're really losing. So I don't think they're a great team or a really good team. I just think it's a lack of talent down the end of the Eastern Conference to push them, away from those 44 wins.
Watch out for those Atlanta Hawks. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. Anyways, we'll be talking about them much later in the program. Let's just give you a hint on that as far as their record is to be believed. But I will say this: the next team on the list is the San Antonio Spurs. San Antonio Spurs at 42.5 games right now, currently at the Westgate. When DeMar DeRozan came over in the Kawhi Leonard trade, you were thinking, okay, they still have a solid guard there, an all-star guard that is going to be aligned with LaMarcus Aldridge. That on the surface seemed to be fine. They've got DeJounte Murray, a burgeoning young talent, and thought, you know what? They're going to put up and make enough 20-footers that is going to nauseate everyone out there that's going to want them to shoot threes. But you know what? They're going to make enough 20-footers, and Greg Popovich is going to somehow skillfully maneuver them to another playoff run. Something happened along the way, though, however, in that DeJounte Murray got injured. Actually, also another injury as well to their rookie and also, I believe, a second-year player. Both James White and Lonnie Walker the fourth all have injuries, that's a lot of guards in your rotation that are hurt and are going to be hurt for a long time. I think it's going to impact them more than people think. I see them right now going below at about 38, 39 wins for San Antonio and really making Greg Popovich's beard just really that much longer. And it was from stroking it so much because he's going to be so frustrated at all the injuries and all the 20-footers that should be three-pointers going up instead.
I got him over. It's the same thing for me as the Boston Celtics thing. It's Greg Popovich. They got Bellinelli back. I think they'll be able to skate by with Patty Mills playing the point. They really wanted to start DeJounte Murray and give him that opportunity and run with him. That's why they let Tony Parker go. But I think they have enough talent with LaMarcus Aldridge, DeMar DeRozan. Not high on Rudy Gay, but I think he does provide something. Patty Mills, I think, will be the guy who can knock down some threes. So will Bellinelli. Will this and that Jakob Poeltl? Will he step in? Will he provide something? I don't. Is Pau Gasol finally hitting that point where he's done? I think they have enough though to get more than 4. I think they'll win 47 games the way they always do. I just think Greg Popovich provides something that most other teams don't have, which is a mind for the game. And I think there was a lot of turmoil with the Kawhi Leonard thing last year, and I think they will have gotten away from that and back to focusing simply on basketball. And I think DeMar DeRozan is good enough to get you some wins. So I think they'll be at about 47 wins.
That wouldn't surprise me, given the fact that Greg Popovich is such a great coach, one of the best all time. That wouldn't be on the realm to surprise you, but I think at some point in time, San Antonio has to show some cracks and some flaws in their armor, so to speak. And I think now is that time, unfortunately, that I think San Antonio will find a little bit harder to get into the playoffs because they've been in it so many consecutive years. I think this might be the year that their run stops. I think they're just going to be just out of the playoff picture and just missing it just by a hair. Next up on the list, we have the Minnesota Timberwolves. Speaking of turmoil, my friend, you've got the Minnesota Timberwolves, a.k.a. Drama Central right now in the NBA. And we thought it would have been with the Lakers already, but nope. It's in Minnesota with Jimmy Butler screaming at everybody that he can scream on to at practice. You've got Anthony Wiggins and his family members arguing at Jimmy Butler over Twitter and over just any social media outlet they can. And then you've got Karl Anthony Towns just signed a fat payday, but at this point, is he going to be able to develop that talent and be worth it long term? Because they're going to commit to him long term and try and move Jimmy Butler at some point. Your thoughts on the drama going on in Minnesota? I see them as an under at below the 42 and the 42 wins that they're projected on doing at from the Westgate. I see them below it. I think the drama is going to be too much, and it's going to affect them at least in the early part of the 2018-2019 NBA season.
Yeah, I don't think they can get past it. I tend to be one of the few who side with Jimmy Butler. For that team to have that much talent and cannot win without him, which they've shown. When he went out last year, they couldn't win games with all that talent, with Wiggins, Tyus Jones, Karl Anthony Towns. You had all these players and you couldn't win games. So when Jimmy Butler came back, there has to be something to that. To have that kind of talent and not be able to win games, there has to be something to that. And so he being a player on that team can see what most of everybody else can't see because we're on the outside looking in, and he's there. So my thing is, if he's calling you out, there's either one of two things that are going to happen. Either you're going to whine about it, you're going to get in your feelings about it, or you're going to realize that there's something to what he's saying and step up. And I don't think they will. I don't think that these guys are going to step up. I think they're going to soak about it. I think they're going to brood about it, and I think they'll shrink because of it. And I think they'll end up moving Jimmy Butler. I don't even.
And I also think Tom Thibodeau is gone after the end of the season.
I absolutely do too. I think even if they move Jimmy Butler, I don't see them being able to win games. Like, there's nothing that shows me if they moved him before, I think the season starts Wednesday. If they moved him Tuesday, I don't see them. What have they shown to make you think even Jimmy Butler being gone is going to help them win games? Even if they got, he's like, who are they going to get back for him that is going to make either Karl Anthony Towns or Andrew Wiggins the leader? If that's going to put them into the playoffs, that's going to, take that franchise by the collar and lead them where they're supposed to go. I don't see that. So to me, the turmoil stops them from being good with Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Butler being gone, if they do trade him, stops them from being good because he's gone. So I don't see either way them being good. So I go under.
Fair enough. Drama Central is there, and I'm glad to see it continuing because it's kind of juicy every now and then to see something outside of Los Angeles Lakers area and the Staples Center have more of the spotlight on it when it comes to drama. Although, give the Lakers half a chance. If it does go sideways in Lakerland, that will probably become even more juicy here, there in LA. I'll tell you that for sure, because you have Rondo, you have McGee, you have LeBron, you have all those personalities that are there, Lance Stevenson, Michael Beasley. I mean, it's just like that. It's something's like on the surface. Everything's kumbaya right now, but you just can tell just something on the surface. I mean, Beasley and Stevenson are already trying to punch people out there, during exhibition games. So it's just brewing on the surface. But yeah, right now it's still in Minnesota as far as the drama is concerned. Next thing we have on the plate is Portland Trailblazers at 42 wins. Your thoughts on them? I tell you what, people are really down on them ever since being swept at the hands of New Orleans. They also followed up with a summer of relative inactivity, just didn't really add any pieces that really helped them out. But you still have one of the best backcourts in basketball in CJ McCollum and also as well Damian Lillard. Do you think the loss of Ed Davis to the Brooklyn Nets is going to be something that there's really going to affect them in the locker room and maybe off the bench to the point where less than 42 wins is going to happen? Because I think at this point in time, I'm still going to pick them slightly over. I still think 43, 44 wins is in the cards for them. But I wouldn't be surprised if they do go a little bit of hard times and go under 40 wins. But at this point, I'm still, out of respect to them and that great backcourt that they have, are going to pick them over at 43, 44 wins because I think they have a distinct home court advantage as well.
I'm going to go over 42 wins. He doesn't get the credit. Damian Lillard wins games. I mean, I don't think they have enough when they reach the playoffs, but regular season, he wins games. They have one of the better scoring backcourts with him and CJ McCollum. If Yusuf Nurkic could become what he was, even get back to what he was when they traded for him, and he played, I think less than half the season with them, but what he provided, if he can get back to that, I think that it'll push them a little bit higher.
Let me ask you this. If they only reach the 42-win plateau or go under, do you see the breakup of that backcourt in a short amount of time?
Yes, I'm not even sure that they last the season regardless. I think if a good enough offer presents itself, I don't think they move off Damian Lillard, but CJ McCollum, I can definitely see them moving him because, you know, they are a small backcourt. They lack on the wings. Mo Harkless is a solid player, but he's not anything where you say, oh, we have this spot solidified. You can always use help at the at the power forward. I think the move of Ed Davis is Zach Collins. I think will get more time this year. He was a top 10 pick last year, first round. I think they like some of the things that he could do athletically. And so I think, you know, he'll get a significantly more playing time this year. You know, Seth Curry is there. If he's back, if he's healthy, he can provide some scoring, some shooting off the bench.
I've always liked him as a player. I understand who his brother is, but as a player, if he was not named Seth Curry, I still think he would be a very good player and someone to watch out for because he does have a great game.
Right, I agree. They drafted Gary Trent Jr., who's a shooter. So I think they are still in a position to be who they've been. The question, you know, one that you presented is, mentally, is that sweep going to bother them? Is it going to get in their heads? I don't think it will, but I think they're good enough to win more than 42 games. They're offensively explosive enough to win 40-plus games. They have 2 elite scorers in the backcourt. But I think that there's a possibility that they do move off of McCollum if a good enough trade presents itself. But I would go over 42 wins for Portland.
Like I said, for me, it's a close call, but I put them slightly over just because they are so good at home. I think it's almost as good of a home advantage as you see in Denver because they at the Rose Garden, they just seem to do so well there, as well, especially against the Lakers over the course of time. They just never seem to buy a win there. And guess where the Lakers start? They start in Portland. The next team that we have on the list, and you know what I'm talking about too. You know what I'm talking about. Yeah, because the Clippers go through the same thing every time they go up there as well. So the next team we have on the list is the Detroit Pistons. And no, I'm not going to shout Detroit basketball, but I will tell you that Westgate has them in line for 38.5 wins. Your thoughts on them, because I think they should be a better team than they have been. I think they should have been a better team last year. I think when they were in that first round with Cleveland, everything was on a high. They were improving, but suddenly went off the rails. Stan Van Gundy's out, and they've got a new coach in there. You know, obviously that coach is the reigning coach of the year, and why he is still not coaching Toronto is still beyond me. But I will say this, with Dwayne Casey there, my friend, I think things are looking better, and I've got them above 38.5 wins. And I know you mentioned them earlier as being above 30, really doing well this year, and you think they're going to be getting an Eastern Conference playoff spot. So your thoughts on how good Detroit basketball can really be this year in the NBA?
Yeah, I see them above 39. I mean, they won 39 last year, so I don't think 38 wins is kind of fair assessment of them. I think you're getting Reggie Jackson back. He missed a lot of last year, which I think cost them a lot of wins.
I'd see them about 44 personally.
Yeah, I definitely can see that. I wasn't going to go that high, but even 44, I wouldn't be surprised. I had them more at maybe 42 wins. But, you know, with Dwayne Casey, I think where they really lack is a bench. I don't love their bench. I like Ish Smith, but there's not really a lot there, especially as far as putting the ball in the basket. But I like Reggie Jackson there. You know, I think with a full training camp with Drummond and Blake and Reggie together, I think that they can be a legitimate team and win some games. I don't think 38 wins. I don't. My problem with 38 wins with Detroit is the rest of the competition in that at the bottom end of that conference. I don't see other teams being able to do much to stop the teams that are currently there from staying where they are. So I have Detroit over 38 wins.
I believe so as well. I just think, like I said, there's just too much talent there with Blake Griffin and Andre Drummond, one of the best front courts in the NBA. Very good rebounding. I don't know how you're going to get some offensive rebounds there because those two are just really good, especially Drummond on the boards. If Blake Griffin can show that he's going to be the player that he once was with the Clippers in his heyday, when he was, I think Chris Paul was injured and he was doing a lot himself to facilitate that ball, getting a lot of assists, things of that nature. If he can actually perform at anywhere near that level, I see great things in Detroit as far as a lot of improvement over the 38 win projected total that they have right now. Next on the list, we've got your fabulous Los Angeles Clippers, my friend, at 37.5. They're one of the most perplexing teams for me when I look at their roster because they, even trading away Austin Rivers, they still have 500 guards on their team, and they still have to alleviate that logjam. Their wings are almost non-existent after Tobias Harris. And if you're really counting on, some players that were really injured for a long period of time last year, like Patrick Beverley, Danilo Gallinari, et cetera, you may be in for a lot because I think both those players, if they're not injured, they're both going to be traded away for assets. And I really think at this point in time, the Clippers early on, if they aren't winning, they're going to go, I'm not going to say necessarily into tank mode, but I think they're going to go ahead and reevaluate the team that they have and start playing the young kids more because I think Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is going to be a really good player in the league. Plus, also with Marcin Gortat coming over, your center position is now, I think, below average. So beyond Tobias Harris, you don't really have anything in that front court to be very consistent beyond the 500 guards you currently have. And with all the guards there, how is Lou Williams going to get enough time as your main player and as your main offensive threat outside of Tobias Harris? Is he going to get enough consistent time, or is he going to be traded away himself? So I think the Clippers, and I wish I could be more positive on that. I will tell you this. I really like their future going forward, especially with all the cap space that they're going to have. But I think they're going to go under this year and get a really nice high draft pick. I think they're going to sell off a lot of assets this year, and I really think that 2019 is going to look really good as a bounce back year for the Clippers. You're kind of agreeing with me, I can tell.
Okay, this is my thing. I have a different outlook on them. I think with Jerry West, and this is honest, I think he has that Laker mindset where it's not about building from what you have. It's about acquiring what's out there. I think they definitely have an eye on Kawhi in that situation. I think that's something that they really, really are going to try hard for, and maybe some other players. They're going to have a lot of cap space, like you said. I would love for them to move Gallinari. I don't think they will. I don't think they can because he's still got $40 million left on his deal.
Oh, that's right. He's got 2 years. I'm sorry. I thought it was 1 year.
$40 million.
But Beverly is, I think, in his final year.
Could be. To me, I just don't think his cap hit is significant enough for them to necessarily feel like they need to move him. And I think,
but the playing time of the rookies might necessitate that.
True.
And Avery Bradley as well.
My opinion about the Gilgeous-Alexander draft pick, I think they made that draft pick, which I believe they didn't originally draft, and they traded for him after drafting one of the not Porter,
one of the Bridges guys.
Yeah, one of the Bridges. And this was a guy who reportedly Toronto was very interested in Gilgeous-Alexander. To me, that move is made in mind to possibly offer him if things do not go well in Toronto, or they don't feel like he's going to resign. to make that move. And if that's the case, if that's their mindset, I don't think they move off Avery Bradley or Patrick Beverley, because what that provides them, if they are able to get somebody like Kawhi or even a Jimmy Butler, is what they can do defensively on the perimeter with a Patrick Beverley, who's an elite defender, as well as Avery Bradley. Tobias Harris, I've heard, has been in some trade talks, like, for Jimmy Butler. So he might be a guy they're willing to move off of simply because they can move off of him. Lou Williams, I think I felt the re-signing of Lou Williams last year was so that he'd be available under contract to trade away. If everything goes awry, then I think they move to a point where the young guys get more playing time.
But they still will be able to get a tremendous amount of assets if you move, like I said, Bradley, if you move Beverly, if you move Tobias Harris, if you move those players, you're going to get a lot back and look very good come next year. So let's put a silver lining on this. I think if it does go awry very quickly for the Clippers, they could get some by the end of the season. They could have a lot of future assets that would make them look very good. If not, they might have, like you said, a possibility to get, for a trade, Jimmy Butler that might make them a playoff team.
True. I agree. My only thing about the trading of a Patrick Beverley or Avery Bradley, if you're going to get in free agency instead of being able to trade, and try to use your cap space to bring somebody in, if you trade off those assets, what is that looking like to, free agent players who want to come in? And if you're looking for free agent stars, if they look at your team and they see nothing but rookies and young players, how does that make them want to come to your team? So that's my thing about them trading away those assets. I can see them trading away a Gallinari, if they could, or a Lou Williams, or even a Tobias Harris. But to not have a foundation of what you're going to build around or you're going to insert them into, I think kind of undermines your ability to attract those free agents.
Fair enough. I have them slightly under, like I said, I think around 35, 34 wins. Although if it does go awry, I think it could go well under that. You think they're going to go ahead and be an over on that. And I don't think that's an unreasonable expectation, especially, like you said, with Jerry West, the mastermind that he is, especially coming from the Lakers and the Warriors and his experience with both those teams. So that's not out of the realm of possibility. Either which way, I think your future in Clipperland is really high, and I think there's a lot of good things to look forward to, especially with all that beautiful cap space you've got sitting there in the summer of 2019. So
yeah, I have them at 40. 40. They were now able to win 42 last year with the slew of injuries with the trades. So if they won 40 games, I think Doc Rivers last year did, to me, his best job with this team since he's been hired. And if he can coach to that level next year or this year coming up, I think they can win 40 games.
Up next, we have Mark Cuban's favorite team, and that is the Dallas Mavericks. They're ahead right now at an even 36 games on a win total that is predicted by currently the Westgate, as far as the Westgate Hotel out of Las Vegas. Your thoughts on the Dallas Mavericks? I think a lot rides on the future of Luka Doncic and also Dennis Smith Jr. We all know that Dirk Nowitzki is Dirk Nowitzki. He's already done. He's a great player, Hall of Famer, first ballot, not a problem. One of the best, if not the best, foreign player to ever play in the NBA. But you see him hobbling up back and forth, and to me, it just looks very sad. He just looks he looks like he's so uncomfortable. He looks like in so much pain as he's going up in the court. And you know what I'm talking about, because it's such a fast-paced game now, and to see him bringing up the rear, waiting for a three-pointer, and just see him hobbling there because he cannot extend his legs what he once could when he was a younger individual, it's just hard to watch. But he can still provide something, at least a little something from the outside for you. But overall, I think you're riding a lot on Luka Doncic and Dennis Smith Jr. to get you to that point, because Harrison Barnes, Wesley Matthews, DeAndre Jordan, that actual lineup does not scare me in the least, especially with DeAndre Jordan now getting up there in years. Your thoughts on the Dallas Mavericks? I have them as an under. I think they're going to be around 32, maybe 30 wins. Your thoughts on them? Do you think they can actually reach the level of 36 wins? Do you think they can actually even go higher and have some type of hope that they can make the NBA playoffs this year?
Yeah, I think it depends on Luka Doncic. Is he that player that everybody, all the analysts said he was? Is he that great of a player in his rookie?
That's so much pressure to put on a rookie.
Oh, absolutely. But the way they talked about it, as if he should have been the no-brainer #1 pick. He's a future all-star. Like there's his game is just so translatable to the NBA. I'm just going off of what I've heard as far as his analysis as a player. If he's that, then they can maybe push for 40 wins. But if he is not, if he's a rookie, and the way they've talked about him as if he's not going to play like a rookie. But if he is a rookie, then yeah, I see in the realm of 32 wins. But then I think Dennis Smith will be that much better for a year. I think DeAndre provides them something that they haven't had, which is supreme athleticism. As far as running up and down the floor. So if that's a route they want to go with Luka Doncic and Dennis Smith, even Harrison Barnes getting up and down the floor, I think that'll make them a better team. Is Dirk coming off the bench now? Even with how you say about Dirk, I feel the same about Wesley Matthews, who's never been a very athletic guy, but even he looks slow.
That Achilles injury is again an Achilles, so. Yeah, and that does not bode well for DeMarcus Cousins of the Warriors, and and his ability to come back to a full All-Star level. But that's a neat. I digress on that.
I think he's the difference. I don't think he's ever been a supremely athletic guy. He's big. He's got a certain amount of quickness, but not anything explosive. He's not a high leaper. He's not a speed guy. So I think the strength coming back in his legs will not deter his game the way it would somebody else who's perimeter based. He's gonna get a lot of spot up jump shots, or he'll post up right in front of the rim, get quick catches. I think it'll affect his game less than it would another player. But with Dallas, it's a flip of the coin. I still think they're a player away from being a playoff team. So I would push 36 wins. I think that's right where they are. 36 wins.
Once again, it is Anthony Barbarin, our man in the know when it comes to the NBA. If you have any questions for me or him, please let us know. popculturecosmos@yahoo.com. Also as well, Pop Culture Cosmos, Humanica Media, Game Source, and Inside Sports on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram as well. Well, we're down to our final 10, my friend. I know we've gone through 20 already. I'll tell you what, I appreciate you just giving us this insight and depth. The analysis has just been truly tremendous. Let's see if you can do it a little bit longer, my friend. Let's see if you can hold out, because this is really where the fun begins, and we're picking the teams that a lot of individuals, especially in Las Vegas, are picking to be on the lower end of the scale. Your thoughts on the Memphis Grizzlies, 33.5. You think that the combination that is once again sort of kind of healthy now with Marc Gasol and Mike Conley, do you think they can provide that same kind of magic they had those years they were in the playoffs year after year after year? Actually, you know what? I'm sorry. Scratch that. I'm so forgot the Charlotte Hornets. Okay. I'm going to delete this. I'm going to edit this out. I got so excited about talking about Memphis, I forgot Charlotte. That's how forgettable they are. Charlotte Hornets The Charlotte Hornets, let's not forget about them, my friend. 35.5 wins that are projected at the Westgate in Las Vegas. Your thoughts on them? I see them as lower. I think Kemba Walker is going to be traded at some point in time. I feel sorry for the guy because it's just been him against the world now for at least 3 or 4 years. It has just truly been sad how they built that team. I don't know what Michael Jordan has been thinking because he's certainly not been doing a good enough job running the team so far. Kemba Walker, I think at some point in time this year has to be traded. He's going to be the biggest target or one of the biggest targets out there. I see them right now going into full tank mode and going below the 35.5 win marker.
Yeah. Where's the talent? You know,
I can't find any outside of Kemba Walker.
Exactly. To me, that team, they're at 35 is the projection.
35.5.
35.5. I don't see where. I think they vie for the number 1 pick in the draft. I think they'll move on from Kemba. I think that's what the Tony Parker thing was about. You have Miles Bridges there, but you have a slew of draft disappointments. Michael Kidd-Gilchrist, Marvin Williams. I don't see where's the talent on that team. Nicholas
Monk is
older. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Monk has not played very well so far in his early career.
Right, and so I don't see. I just don't. I think they trade Kemba Walker. They get a first-round pick. I think they vie for even with him. I think they vie for a number 1 pick. I think they're one of the weaker teams in the league.
You know what I see a scenario is if they can pry a first round pick from Phoenix, that would be something that would be very interesting because Phoenix definitely needs a point guard and Kemba could be that combination. Either that or he could go to the New York Knicks, but the New York Knicks with all that cap space that they have coming to him because they jettisoned Noah just the other day. I think at this point in time I think at this point in time, it will come down to maybe a contending team of some type getting a key injury that's going to necessitate them giving up a later first round pick for Kemba Walker because I don't think Phoenix or New York is going to get off their early first round picks for someone like Kemba, who's a very good player, but not someone that's going to push you over the top in either the Eastern or Western Conference. I think once he is traded, though, that's going to mean dark times for those in Charlotte. And Michael Jordan, he's probably not going to be in the stands visible for the latter half of the season because it's going to be very ugly in Charlotte. I think if they do trade Kemba Walker, and I see them under the 35.5 win total as well. Coming up right after them at 33.5 is the Memphis Grizzlies, and we've never talked about them before here in the program. So let's go ahead and discuss them now. We've got the tried and true combo of Mike Conley and Marc Gasol. Could they regain the form and could they be healthy enough to last through a whole year and put them back into a playoff race scenario? They're listed right now at 33.5 wins. I think with them and also as well, Jaren Jackson Jr., who really looks like a talented rookie, I see pretty good things for them. Also, was there a Parsons sighting? Is he actually on the floor? My goodness, if that's the case, you never know. They might win more games than 33.5. So I'm predicting an over for them. Not quite playoff land, but I do think a 38 to 40 win season is not out of the realm of possibility.
Jaren Jackson has looked good. I don't know, man. I've waited for a while for them to come down. And I think that Mike Conley injury is what caused it. Is he going to come back? Is he going to be the same Mike Conley we've seen? Is he going to be worth the money that they paid him? I don't know. I see them in the 33 wins. I just don't see the talent on that team.
I saw him toy with Trae Young the other day in an exhibition game, and it was almost laughable that the skill level that he had attained by his experience over what Trae Young was doing. It was funny because he was just running around Trae Young, and Trae Young was just looking so confused half the time. But that's a rookie thing as
Right.
opposed to a talent thing. But I think at this point in time, if they remain healthy, I think it's going to be a done deal above the 13.5. Are you over or under on that?
Um, I'll go slightly over at 35 wins.
Okay, fair enough. Take that for data, right there for you. Up next, we have on our list right here, we've got more great things to come because the underrated, undervalued, underappreciated, and almost completely ignored Brooklyn Nets are next at 32 wins. I think this is a very intriguing team either which way because it can go really either which way. I look for them to go up above the 32 win total because I think, you know why? Because their coach is very unheralded. Kenny Atkinson gets the most out of players. He got the most out of them last year with a talent roster. I think, I don't know. I think some high schools might have been better than them last year, but he pushed them to best that they can be. I think they've really got a winner in there as far as Kenny Atkinson is concerned. And I see them going above 32 wins. Not much higher, mind you, but a 34, 35 win season for me would not be out of the realm of possibility.
Yeah, I agree. I'm about 35 wins with them.
Do you think the comeback of D'Angelo Russell is in order?
I mean, yeah, I think he'll help that team. I mean, he missed some games last year. I think if he's healthy, could really help them. They brought in Napier. They still got DeMar Carroll. Is he going to get anywhere close to where he was thought to be? Can Allen Crabbe play a little bit better? I think any one of them can play a little better. I think they got Kenneth Faried. You know, can some of these players, help push them over a few more games? Yeah, I think so. But I think they won 28 games last year. 33, 34 wins is probably where Brooklyn will end up.
I think they will play their hearts out either which way because Kenny Atkinson gets the best out of players. And whether they win 25 or they win 35, I think you're going to get the maximum amount of what that talent roster can give you. And I think that's the most you can ask for when it comes to the Brooklyn Nets. And I think that's really something that bodes well for the future, that if you get talent around them and they're finally moving off all those bad trades that they did previously, they're starting to have their own picks again. They're starting to get some free cap space. Things going forward could look a lot better for Brooklyn, and they could get a lot better faster than the New York Knicks. That's all I'm going to say. It could. I didn't say it will. I said it could get better faster than the New York Knicks with everything that's going on in Brooklyn. Next, we have, wow, what a drop. The Cleveland Cavaliers, my friend, 31.5. No LeBron means no fun in Cleveland. I see them as an under at this point in time because Kevin Love, expecting him to be the cornerstone and the key to your offense at this point in time, is asking a lot for someone who's been repeatedly injured for serious amounts of time. I see them as an under, getting about maybe 25 to 27 wins. I hope I'm wrong. I hope they can go ahead and be competitive without LeBron. But your thoughts on the Cleveland Cavaliers at 31.5? Is it an over or is it an under for you, my friend?
It's an under. I mean, we've seen it. We've seen what they were without LeBron. We saw what they were with LeBron. We saw what they were without LeBron. We saw what they were with LeBron. And once again, they're going to be without LeBron. Is Colin Sexton, that kind of gritty guard that's going to, push them to another level? They got Kevin Love. I think Kevin Love will put up numbers. I don't think he'll put up his Minnesota numbers, but I think he'll put up numbers, 20 points a game, 10 rebounds if he can stay healthy. But some of these other players, I don't see them doing much. Um,
When Rodney
I just
Hood
don't
is
think.
counted on to be your second leading scorer on the team, you know you've got issues.
Right, right. Will Jordan Clarkson be able to play better without LeBron there?
Don't ask
Possibly.
him to do. Don't ask him to do it in the playoffs.
Yeah, possibly. I mean, it could be like they've said though. Playing with LeBron is sometimes it's deer in the headlights, and it's too much for some people, and that might have been it. But they don't. To me, they just don't have talent up and down the roster. Um, I think Colin Sexton is a building block. Um, Kevin Love is there, but they'll continue to put blocks in place until they are able to once again build something. But as you've seen over the years, outside of LeBron being there, they haven't been able to build much. So I see them under 31 wins. I don't see the talent on that roster to be able to compete at a high level.
Next, we have outside of the LeBron-less Cavs, we have at a 30.5 win season for the Orlando Magic. I'll tell you what, my friend, I've got two questions for you. How good could that front court be for Orlando? And how bad can that backcourt be for Orlando? It's like a two-way street going there. Your backcourt with Mohamed Bamba, Aaron Gordon, and also Jonathan Isaac. They if they put their fingers together as far as reach out, they could actually go from one side of the court to the other by themselves. They've got such long reaches for all of them and could be a very great defensive force if they decide to commit to it. On the other hand, though, their backcourt, who's going to play point guard? DJ Augustine? If that's your choice for a starting point guard, he's a great backup player and a great bench player, but if he's your starting point guard, things are really not looking good. As far as a shooting guard is concerned, the same thing goes for it as well. It's just a lot of holes in there. I see it right now. The win total over under is at 30.5. I'm going to go slightly over and go 32 wins for them, but I'm not really confident on that one as well.
Hey, I'm under. I think they're right up there with Charlotte vying for the top pick in the draft. I like Aaron Gordon. I do. I even like Jonathan Simmons. They got Bamba. Is he going to be good? Same thing with Jonathan Isaac. But this is a wing perimeter league now. So who is your ball handler that can make plays for himself and his teammates?
Does Jonathan Simmons become your new shooting guard?
Possibly. I mean, I think that's kind of the way it goes. Maybe they like Evan Fournier. I like Terrence Ross. I think he's wildly inconsistent. If he's healthy, though, I think he's a shooter. He can score. But like you said, I don't think any of it is elite talent. I don't even think any of it is above average talent across that board outside of Aaron Gordon. So yeah, I don't see them winning 30 games. I think they'll be under. Maybe right where they've been, which is 25 games. I just don't think they have the talent on that roster.
Like I said, it wasn't a very confident pick I have, but I'm going to give them the slight edge over because I think at the end of this year, their defense hopefully will align itself. And if Bamba can become that almost not Rudy Gobert-ish and not at that level yet, but if he can go play anywhere near a level of Rudy Gobert, I think they can go ahead and squeak out 30, 31 wins and just get them barely over the hump in the Eastern Conference. Chicago Bulls are next, my friend, at 30. This one is also very perplexing because they've got Jabari Parker, they got Zach LaVine back, re-signed him. Their team is very perplexing because they've got all this talent that I think at other teams would really work out well. But as a unit together collectively, outside of Lauri Markkanen, it's kind of iffy at best. And Jabari Parker wants nothing to do with defense. So right now, I'm going to go under 30 wins for them, but just barely. I think like 28 or 29 wins.
They won 27 last year. I'm gonna go over. I think I don't think they vie for a playoff spot. I really like Jabari Parker. I think that injuries have really sapped his first few years. But if he can come back fully healthy to what his capability is, Zach LaVine, Chris Dunn, even if they aren't good defensively, offensively, if they can push and focus on that end of the court, I think they can be something. I still like Bobby Portis. Wendell Carter I like, but I think he's more of a college guy than an NBA guy. I don't think he transitions in the NBA to some players are good in college and excel in the NBA. Some are good, excel in college and are middling in the NBA. I think he's dead center. I don't see him being a huge player in the league, but I think he can help them. But I would go 33, 34 wins for Chicago. I like their backcourt. I think that, LaVine will be healthy for a full season. Parker, hopefully, will be healthy for a full season. Markkanen, has talent. Chris Dunn has talent. So I think there's potential there.
Well, let's hope it all plans out, but it didn't start off on a great note when your best player, in my opinion, Lauri Markkanen, went down with an injury. So he'll be out for about 6 to 8 weeks. Hopefully he'll come back sooner than that, and maybe they can get above that win total like you're hoping for. The next team on the list is the Phoenix Suns at 29 wins. They're a little bit perplexing as well because outside of the gaping hole at point guard, they seem to have some promise. Devin Booker is going to take every shot and try to make every shot he can, all 50 to 100 that he's going to get during a game. And yes, I'm kidding when I say that, but he is going to get his share of the shots. DeAndre Ayton has looked great in the preseason. They're really looking strong at those two positions. They've got Trevor Ariza and Ryan Anderson, the ex-Houstoners. I have no idea why they fell in love with those two, but okay, that's fine. You can go ahead, put them in your starting lineup. They have some bits and pieces that are promising, but overall, is it enough to go ahead and get them over the 29-win hump? I'm going to probably say no at this point, and I'm going to probably choose them an under, but it's going to be really close for me because if Devin Booker and DeAndre Ayton stay healthy, I really think they can do some good things in the Western Conference 2, 3, 4 years down the line, but I don't think it starts now. I think there's going to be a weaning process, a beginning process there in Phoenix, and it's going to be a little bit of hard times there initially until they can get a point guard in place.
Yeah, I think that's the thing they're missing. I think you'll see them most likely make a move for a point guard. Maybe not a great point guard or a top-level point guard. Like you said, I would love to see the move for Kemba Walker. But that team, I think with the Trevor Ariza, Ryan Anderson move, I actually like the Ryan Anderson move because I think what it does is it just spreads the court for DeAndre Ayton, which puts him on the block by himself. So when you throw it, there's less for him to have to deal with in his rookie season. He'll be able to get one-on-ones, which I think will help. They got one of the better scorers in the league in Devin Booker, who can go off at any moment. He puts up a lot of shots. He puts up a lot of points. They need a point guard, and they have talent, young talent around, across that roster. But point guard is what they're really missing right now. Can Dragan Bender get a little bit better? They drafted Michael Bridges. How much impact do guys like Trevor Ariza and Tyson Chandler have on the locker room? So I think I'll go over at 30 wins. I think they can be explosive offensively. So I'll give them that. I'll give them over at 30 wins.
The next team we have on the list is the New York Knickerbockers at 27.5 wins. They're pining for the future, my friend. They're also going to have Kristaps Porzingis, their leading scorer and best player on the team, out until at least the new year with a knee injury. Your thoughts on the Knickerbockers? They did, like I said, clear some cap space for the future by getting rid of Noah, although that's going to stay, for at least year over year. They're going to space it out, so it's going to hurt them a little bit, but they wanted more cap space for the front end going forward to try and see if they can lure maybe a Durant, maybe a Kyrie Irving, what have you. Your thoughts on them? Kevin Knox, much beloved player during the summer league, is one of the favorites to be possibly the rookie of the year. I see this as a hard season for the New York Knicks. I see them going ahead into full tank mode, and I don't see them winning 27.5 wins unless Kristaps Porzingis comes back sooner rather than later.
Yeah, I think they have some talent. I think, excuse me, I think they're missing in some other spots. I like Tim Hardaway. I like Enes Kanter. Trey Burke will get a shot. I'm very interested to see Mario Hezonja play on a team that's going to let him play. I was high on him in the draft. Thought he's a guy who has athleticism, can run the floor. He has some talent. So I'll be interested to see him as not that it's much better, but out of the black hole that is Orlando. And I'm interested to see Kevin Knox play. So I think I don't have them winning a lot of games. I still think, 28 games is what I see from New York, but I think they're an interesting team. If Kristaps can come back early, then maybe they can push for 30, 32 wins. But if he's going to miss a significant amount of time, I don't see them winning a lot. And honestly wouldn't be surprised if they decided to move off of him. I heard that they weren't picking up his rookie option or his rookie extension. He's been hurt through his first few years there. So if they find or figure out that they want to move in a different direction, if Kevin Knox looks like he can be a cornerstone player for them, maybe they do move off of him to get more draft picks. But I see about 27, 28 wins for the Knicks.
Well, is that going to be an over and under? Because it's 27.5.
I'll go over at 28.
Okay, fair enough. That's why Westgate is so good at picking these games, I guess. So got it right there on you. So last two teams, my friend, the Sacramento Kings, which are right now at the Westgate predicted to do 26. Little bit under what Vlade Divac, general manager of the Sacramento Kings, picked on his whiteboard that was showing on a picture on social media, showing that they were projected to do 29 wins. Okay, that's great that you just have all your plans out there for everyone to see. But then again, that's just a sign of the whole team as a whole. And it hurts me to say that because I loved Vlade so much when he was a Laker. But, you got to call it. You got to call it. Your thoughts? What?
Say, got to call a spade a spade.
You got it, my friend. It's just like said, like the whiteboard's behind you or right there. It's like, okay, I say, what does that say? Sacramento Kings 29 wins. Oh, there you go, my friend. There you go. Too funny because I just can't believe that organization still does the things it does. But your thoughts on the Sacramento Kings? A lot of young talent. Let's give them props for at least getting that. Is it elite enough to get them beyond the 26 win plateau? Because you've got De'Aaron Fox, you've got Marvin Bagley III, you've got Willie Cauley-Stein, you've got Harry Giles that's now healthy and coming back. To me, I don't think it's quite enough. I'm sorry to say. I think the future looks good if they can get a cornerstone piece for it. But right now, 26 wins to me is asking a little bit too much, especially in a loaded Western Conference. I think I see 22 to 24 wins for the Sacramento Kings.
I have them. I have them higher, man. I think they have talent up and down that roster. Um, to me, it's not more of a talent question. It's a front office question. It's a management question. It's a coaching question. Do you realize that Zach Randolph should not be starting? Do you realize that Marvin Bagley is your guy? Harry Giles should be coming off the bench. Um, are you going to play Buddy Hill more than 17 minutes a game and then get mad because he's not scoring the way he should be? Those kind of things are Scalabiciere going to get time? Like, who's are you going to keep Costa Kufis off the court? Like, what are you going to do? Are you going to play your young guys and let them go? Or are you going to hinder them with veterans who do not help your team?
And who should be traded to get more assets?
Right. So you have a point guard. What are they going to do with Willie Cauley-Stein? I've heard trade rumors about him. You have De'Aaron Fox. I think you have legitimate pieces at most of the positions on your court. I think, to me, De'Aaron Fox, Buddy Hield, Marvin Bagley are all legitimate pieces to go, okay, this is who we're going with. Even Willie Cauley-Stein, if that's who you want to keep, if you want to try to start Scalabiciere, who are you going to go with? I think if you can just have some camaraderie and some solidarity with your plan and move forward with it, I think they can win 32, 33 games just based off talent and youth and athleticism, getting up and down the court. Yeah, I think the Western Conference is better, but you still get to play Eastern Conference teams. Now, I don't think the difference in Eastern and Western Conference at the top is huge, but the lower end there aren't great teams up and down the bottom ends of those rosters. I mean, those conferences, so they can get wins. It's about beating the teams you're supposed to beat, and how many can you snatch from teams that you weren't supposed to beat. So I think they can get. I think they just have a lot of from the teams that we've talked about that are on the lower end. I think they have more talent than probably all of those teams. Out right there with Phoenix, except for the fact that Phoenix doesn't have a point guard. Marvin Bagley was a second pick in the draft. Buddy Hield was, a lottery pick. De'Aaron Fox was a top 5 pick. So these guys, at some point, they're going to have to become players. I think De'Aaron Fox is going to show something. Not all-star level or anything like that, but in his second year, Marvin Bagley, I think, will be a legitimate Rookie of the Year candidate. They have length, they have athleticism. So I think that Sacramento, the arrow is pointing up. So I would give them about 31, 33. I'm going to go with 33 wins for Sacramento.
Well, like you said, they do have a lot of length, a lot of athleticism. They've got a lot of 6'10", 6'11" players that are fast, athletic, and can do a lot of things. But is it too many of the same player, and do they need to build other talent around those players, or maybe mix in or trade away maybe one or two of those assets along with a Zebo and a Costa Kufis to get in a better mix of players that might fit in better to the team? Because you can only have so many of the same type of dimension player that are fighting for those same amount of minutes. I see what you're getting at. And do you have enough confidence in the front office and also the coaching staff to get the max amount of wins? I personally don't, but I could be proven wrong. And hopefully I will be, because like you said, based on promise and based on what's on paper, they should be about 30 to 32 wins. I just don't see it because of the fact that I think so much of that organization holds them back from any positivity each and every year. So even from the owner who wanted to go ahead and have that cherry picking offense where there was one player playing on the other end the whole time. So I remember when he came out with that comment, I was just like scratching my head.
Yeah, I just think they won 27 games last year. I think Marvin Bagley will make them that much better. And I think they'll be able to get, another few wins based off experience. 33 wins, that's a 6-win difference. I think that's a viable attainable goal for them.
All right, my friend. Last one. Last team that we're down to, and that is the Atlanta Hawks. Your Atlanta Hawks, my Atlanta Hawks, they're now projected for a paltry 23 wins. Trae Young, the leading scorer and assist guy in the NCAA, although he has been ravaged this whole summer. I think he's been a little bit unfairly picked on, but there's been times where his game has really looked ugly. He's looked out of position. His size, a lot of experience issues. I've told you he was really outclassed by Mike Conley the other day. Your thoughts on the Atlanta Hawks? 23 wins. I don't think 23 wins is going to be able to make it for them. I see them going into the tank machine and really going deep into the tank. And I see about maybe 17 to 18 wins at the most for them, especially if they're really into tank mode and really just going ahead and just try and just ride it on out, which is Trae Young and whatever youth that they have there. Your thoughts on the Atlanta Hawks? Is 23 wins enough, or is 23 wins a little bit too much?
I think it's too much. They don't have talent. They don't have enough talent on that roster. I don't think their desire is to win that many games. Trae Young is he's gonna have an up and down rookie year. He's not a big guy. I think he's smaller than his statistics suggest. He's an offensive guy as far as his ability to be quick and decisive, anything like that is all offensive. I think he's gonna be defensively deficient for most of his career. But he can shoot and he can score. And that's gonna create some excitement. So I think that's what they got him for. But they're gonna be looking for the first pick in the draft and top 3 picks for the next probably 2 to 3 seasons.
I think it's going to be a hard time in Atlanta. It won't be hot Atlanta for a little while. It's going to be kind of like cold, like drainy drizzle Atlanta for a little while. And I agree with you on that. I mean, it's going to take 2-3 years to turn it all around. And it's just so sad because not too long ago they were a 60-win team. It's just falling apart from there. So,
yeah.
But all right, my friend, that does it for the NBA teams on our list. One last thing before we head on out, my friend. The NBA season is almost upon us, and a lot of people in this league, they look towards singular star players to make the big impression with the fans out there. None more so than the MVP each and every year that everybody looks upon. Who is going to be this year's James Harden, in your opinion? A lot of candidates out there. There's no one really hurt outside of a fringe player like Porzingis, like we were talking about, that it could really just any type of small impact on it. Everybody seems to be at a healthy point right now, with Durant, Curry, and Golden State. You've got Harden trying to see if he can win back-to-back MVPs in Houston. You've got LeBron in LA. You've got Antetokounmpo in Milwaukee. You've got Davis in New Orleans. You've got so many other great choices that are out there. Your thoughts on the MVP? Who do you think is going to win it and why?
My top 3 is for this year. I think it'll be Giannis, Antetokounmpo. I think Anthony Davis will be there, and I think LeBron will be there. And I think LeBron wins it. I think
I should call you the mind reader. I'm telling you, because this is like last year when you were reading my mind last year as well.
Yeah, I think when you see what he does for that team, like I said, I think they'll win 52, 53 games from 35. I think they'll finally go, we got to start giving it for impact on the team and not simply numbers. And I'm not begrudging, Russell Westbrook, who won a couple years ago, or James Harden. One thing about it is the MVP is voted on by writers and journalists. So it's not always to the best player. A lot of times they go, what is the story that we, that this encapsulating story um, that we want to talk about, that we want to write about, that we want to praise. And those guys get a lot of times votes for MVPs, or you take away a vote from MVP because you're tired of talking about this guy, or that, for them that story is dead. But him going from Cleveland to LA and taking that team from a 35-win team to what I think will be 53, 52 wins. He'll still put up LeBron-like numbers, and he'll bring the Lakers back to a prominent level in the NBA from where they've been middling for, the last few years. To me, is a story that they'll love, and he'll deserve it on the court as well, as much as he'd ever have. So I think LeBron will end up winning the MVP this year, and he'll get the Lakers to probably the conference semifinals, and that'll be enough to get him the MVP.
Wow. And you folks, you have no idea how hard it was for Anthony Barbarin to come out and say that. Again, gritting through his teeth the entire way, and I don't blame him a bit as a lifelong Clippers fan that he is. So I just, it warms my heart as a Lakers fan. I'm going to put him right now at number 2. If he does go above 50 wins, you can guarantee it that he will win the MVP. But I picked them around 48. So that being the case, which will put them about 5th in the Western Conference. If he's in the top 4, I think he gets it. I think he goes above 50 games. I think he gets it. But if he stays at the level that I predicted him at, I'm going to pick him number 2. I'm going to pick number 1, Giannis Antetokounmpo. I think at that point in time, if they get themselves above 50 wins in a not as strong Eastern Conference, I think they will they will have a great season there in Milwaukee. I think it's going to be a lot of good things going there. A lot of good things going on there in Milwaukee. And I tell you what, I think he's going to be the root of it. I think he's going to be the primary motivating factor in it. And I'll tell you what, I think that's going to be the key for him getting the MVP, is that they will be, well, I'll tell you what, if Milwaukee and the Lakers, whichever team gets the higher amount of wins, is going to get their player the MVP vote. I think that's what's going to do it. If it is New Orleans that gets above both those teams, then you're going to have to give it to Anthony Davis, because he will have to have a monster, and I repeat, a monster year, maybe even a 30-point plus year, also 30 points, maybe 15 rebounds closing on it into it, at least 2 blocks a game type of season. If he gets above 50 wins, look out, he'll get the MVP. But at this point, I think a slight advantage to me goes to Giannis Antetokounmpo. That team, I think, of the 3, I think that team is the most likely to get over 50 wins and garner that individual the MVP this year. Any last thoughts, my friend, on the way out? Because it's been a great talking to you, as always, in regards to the NBA.
No, that's it for me, man. I really enjoyed talking about the league. I can't wait for it to start on Wednesday. To sit down and watch some of these teams, man, play the best sport in the world. So, I'm excited.
And if you have any questions, again, for Anthony Barbarin or myself on the NBA, please feel free to send us an email, popculturecosmos@yahoo.com. Also as well, Pop Culture Cosmos, Humanity Media, Game Source, and Inside Sports on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. You can send us a direct message through there. And we love to talk NBA. As you just listened just now, you listened to Anthony Barbarin and I talk for a long time in regards to it. I hope you got a chance to enjoy it and sit down. And we'd love to hear your thoughts on exactly where you think each team will end up, or your favorite team in the NBA, on how they'll end up in the 2018-2019 NBA season. My friend, it's been great talking to you. I'm going to get you back on the show again real soon so we can talk some more hoops and also some college football as well, because it's getting closer and closer to the playoff times and some interest in regarding the national championship. So I got to get you back on the air for that, and always talking about the round ball. College basketball is around the corner. and I was seeing some odds already. And well, it looks like the old familiars are standing by as the top favorites again. So that could be just like picking Golden State all over again when it comes to college basketball is concerned. But that is for another day and another show, my friend. But for now, I truly appreciate you being part of the show, as always, right here on the Pop Culture Cosmos, Inside Sports, Game Source, and right here on the Pop Culture Cosmos.